welcome to Tinted Specs Podcast. I'm Georgina, and joining me today is a very old friend, Sam de Cruz, textile artist and designer, and also founder of the charity Childhood Project. Welcome, Sam.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm so excited to have you on my podcast because this is a very exciting time for you. Do you want to just give everyone a quick introduction and then we'll delve on into the exciting news?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a textile artist and designer, and I've been working in the creative industry for the past 25 years. And 3 years ago, I started a project, and it actually was born from grief, from the death of my father. But it's kind of turned into the most beautiful creative project, which is all about resilience and human strength. And it's called Child of, and yeah, we're just creating some great energy at the moment, and it's just a very exciting time for us.
No, it definitely is. And so the project is going on from strength to strength. And as you mentioned, it was born out of grief. But I suppose let's start with what the exciting news is right now, and then we'll get into the, the background.
Yeah. Okay. So we've partnered with the Saatchi Gallery. The project, as a little bit of a background, is all about opening up the conversation around addiction and recovery, but in a really creative and contemporary way, and something that is quite relatable to people visually, but also using stories and shared experiences. And it was only a couple of weeks ago that I had a meeting with the head of education and learning department at the Saatchi Gallery. And they've invited us to do workshops and then also host an exhibition for us in December. So it's a month-long exhibition, and it's in the Learning Gallery. So it's on the main floor where the kind of ticketed events are. And it's just a really great opportunity because I'll be inviting people from the recovery. Well, in December, it's like an introduction to the project, which is actually a year-long project running from January to January. But Child of is, we haven't registered it yet, but it is going to be a community interest company. So it's an art project, but it's something that we see long-term as a creative platform that's actually going to change the way that we look at addiction, and also really feed people with great information about creativity and art and technique, and introduce them to different artists who are, from all over, like all disciplines. It's not just visual art. So yeah, we've got big plans for the platform, but at the moment in December we're just introducing the project, small steps that have taken us to the Saatchi Gallery, which is incredible.
Yeah, no, I think it's so exciting. And I was a bit in awe, actually, when you put out a video last night explaining how you started a crowdfunding page so that people could get involved, can't they? They can, by donating, and they can send through, a song lyric or something that is close to their heart. And then that will get, so to speak, sewn into this exhibit.
Yeah, absolutely. So that idea came from wanting to do a crowdfunder just to help us get the project moving. So it was going to start in January and it would go throughout the year. But because of the timescale, the Saatchi Gallery had a space for us. She was like, look, we want to get you in as soon as we can. So it's become a little bit more kind of immediate. So this is just a small mini kind of crowdfunder, but also it's for the idea that I had for an ever-growing tapestry. So instead of doing a crowdfunding, you just offer a reward of something quite disposable, like a cap or a T-shirt, or that we can all exchange money for, but actually does it mean anything to us? I wanted it to be something a little bit more interactive, and at the same time, I run a mentorship circle in my studio and also on Zoom. It's only very small at the moment, and it happened to be that I had a lady working with me who I know within my community, one of the school mums, and she's in recovery, an ex-addict, and she wanted to build a portfolio. She wanted to do theatre design. So she came into the studio and I was like, come on, I'll just help you with it. I'll help you build your portfolio. And we worked together for a couple of years. And anyway, she went to college. She's actually graduated now. She's an amazing woman. But within her community, the recovery community, there was a couple of people there who wanted to be involved in a creative space. So we invited them, or I invited them into the studio, and that's how the mentorship circle started to grow. And obviously with textiles is my thing. We just started, I just had this idea of like, well, why don't we just make small pieces of art using textiles? And I was teaching them really basic stitches, like blanket stitch, running stitch, felling, and all of that kind of thing, but very, very basic. And I'm all about energy, and I'm a little bit of a punk when it comes down to embroidery. Like, I go against the rules. It's all about getting marks onto fabric using textiles. And it doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter what stitch it is. Nobody's looking over you saying like, oh no, that's not right. That's not how we do it at the Needlework Club. It's very much like, just get it out there and do it how you want to. So we started doing these little pieces of art. And then I thought that would be a great reward for somebody. So if you are wanting to remember somebody, or you have a song lyric, like you said, that kind of takes you back to a moment in time where you were kind of challenging the status quo, or if you've got a secret you want to release into the world, anything that's something that's quite dear to you, or even just a bit of fun. I got a donation and a contribution, and they want me to embroider the word bunkum onto the work. So it can be anything. It can be anything you want, and we will then attach it to the tapestry that will be ever growing, and that will be displayed in December. But also we will take that to other galleries, and it will be part of our ongoing project. And I think what's quite exciting about that, it will just be a snippet of a moment in time of how a nation feels about themselves or about their life and about our moment. And so it is very interactive, but also the donation will go to help us put on the exhibition, but also facilitate the workshops. And I'm working with a school up in East London called the London East Alternative Provision School. So I'll be going up there, working with the kids, and their work will go into the exhibition. Because I really believe tackling addiction and the impact addiction has on our environment, our family environment, and the community, it's very much a two-pronged affair. You look after the child who's in that environment, you support them, and then also you look after the addict, because very often the addict was that child, and we need to break that cycle. And for me, I can do this through creativity. Other people, offer their expertise in sports, because sports can equally do the same kind of thing. But for me, it has to come from creativity, because that's kind of what I know.
I think it's fantastic. And I actually interviewed a lady from a company called Funky Makers, and she does crafting for young people and adults as well. And she talked about how important it is, just the physical doing of the crafting or textiles. And I know you spoke about on your blog, which is also fantastic for anyone who wants to have a read. So I'll put the link in there, and the link to the crowdfunding, that you found, doing textiles of Merlin when you were at school was very kind of therapeutic. So did that kind of start you on this path of kind of being a textile designer?
Yeah, I think so. And what's interesting, and why the project began, is I'm really interested in how two people, or two children or teens, can come from a very similar background of a family of like dysfunction. And it doesn't matter what class, how much money you're bringing in, addiction it doesn't kind of discriminate. It can get anybody on all cultures, all kinds of like environments. So you have two children who are maybe escaping a dysfunctional environment, and they use creativity. Now, somebody like myself has used that and thought, okay, I can build a career out of this. Somebody like Goldie, for instance, I always think of him because he came from a care home background, and I think his mum was an alcoholic, and he used music to fulfill his life. And obviously he's had his ups and downs, but he's done really well. and he's managed to get through it, whereas somebody else might have that same skill and ability and love for creativity as a child, but along the lines that's been lost or forgotten, or they haven't received the same support or mentorship. So I want to know what is it? Where are the loopholes? What are we missing out on? What can we offer children at that age for them to be able to use their creativity to go on to further education or to go into the creative industry and actually use their skills and passion to have a fulfilled life?
I think that it's so interesting because you don't need to have A levels or anything like that. There are ways forward that you can use your creativity, go to college, do an HND. I hope they still exist, and a BTEC. And, you can go from strength to strength. But in your blog, you wrote about how some people get lost, don't they? And that's exactly what you're saying, and how you're trying to kind of fill in the gaps so that they keep progressing and can make the most out of their lives. And I just want to talk about the tapestry. So that is just such a great idea, because you're linking different people's stories together. And there is a thing called like a heritage blanket, where every person in a family knits a section, or you find a bit of a block and you sew it all together to give to someone. And it's a bit like that, isn't it?
It's exactly like that. I haven't heard of that before. I'll have to have a look into that.
Yeah, so
it is. Yeah.
So I think it's great because it's like a story. And I suppose in the olden times, tapestries were a way to tell stories, weren't they? And and the other thing, which I think is absolutely amazing, is that how the timing of this, I think, is phenomenal, because obviously we've all been in lockdown and through an incredibly difficult 18 months. But I think that maybe there'll be a lot more people struggling with this, alcoholism and either as a child or as an adult. So the timing, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And I think everyone over this period of time has hopefully had a chance to think about stuff, and also to be maybe more braver and a bit more creative. And so hopefully more people will come forward and you can help more people, and they can get their ideas on the tapestry, or just come and join your mentor group.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the stats that have been out just recently have said that in the UK, there's 1 million more people who are addicted to alcohol now than before the pandemic. And I think the whole conversation around addiction and alcoholism, it has to be opened up. And rather than just, blame the addict or blame the alcohol, we have to really think about what it is that's causing the addiction. Because at the end of the day, there has to be something there, some pain, some disconnection with their own life to make you want to numb it down with a substance or with alcohol. And I just want to talk about things being just really realistic, and trying to remove some of the stigma around it, and help not just the person in recovery or the person who's addicted, but the child. So hopefully by seeing or being able to talk about things openly and seeing the story. So another part of the project is that I interview adults who've been touched by addiction. And this is where the project actually started. And this was like 3 years ago. And I went to the theatre. So I'm really into dance music and techno, and clubbing was a massive part of my life. And really into not a band, but like I suppose, band called Underworld. I don't know if you kind of they're amazing. Anyway, Carl Hyde, one of the guys in Underworld, he did a theatre production called Fatherland, and it was with this guy called Simon Stevens, who's a British playwright. And the production was all about relationships with your father, and it was a verbatim play, and it was just mind-blowingly brilliant. The music that was involved, the way that the characters, the way it was written, everything about it was amazing. And Carl and Simon, they were part of characters within the play, and Simon's character, he talked about his alcoholic father. So when I listened to it, I came out and I said I was so buzzed up. I was like, it was just the most incredible experience. And I came out and I said, I'm going to get in touch with this guy to see if he'll talk to me about his relationship, because he's incredibly creative and he's doing very well, and he's come from a very similar background. So this is kind of where the idea started. And so I tweeted him, and lo and behold, he got back to me, and we had a conversation. I interviewed him for like an hour and a half. And from that interview, I've created some art pieces. And it's taken me it's taken a couple of years to actually, for the project to formulate into what it is now. But so I've created these art pieces, and they're actually, it's not about the heaviness of addiction and the heaviness of the impact that it has on the family, but it is about human strength and what gets people through it, and just life. And from these the conversations where I've done Simon's dream, which is absolutely brilliant, and it's a dream that he said that changed his life and saved his career. I won't tell you too much because I'd like people to actually see it. It will be in the exhibition in December, but we're kind of talking about different people who've experienced it, some who are very famous and who are doing well, to other people who, one of my mentorees, who I'm using her as an inspiration as well, amazing woman. She was living on the streets for 8 years in London. You know, she's been to the depths, and she's actually a really integral part of the project now. So what can we find from other people, what are their experiences, and how can we represent that creatively so it can touch somebody, it can draw you in a certain way? Like art touches people in so many different ways, and if we can use our art and creativity in posters or however we wish to kind of display it, if that can catch somebody's imagination and they can relate to it and then go to the website, then there's going to be lots of information that could possibly help them or one of their family members.
So yeah, it's about creating a community though, isn't it? An easily accessible community where people can go to speak to other people in similar situations, or see how other people have developed through having similar life experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Or they might just really love the work and the art and want to know how you do like a silk screen or something.
Well, and I have to be honest, because the first time I got in touch was when I saw some beautiful bits of textiles on your Instagram page, and I just thought they were absolutely stunning. And then that's where I said, I'd love to interview you for this podcast. So I would like to stress they are beautiful pieces. And so there's going to be a few of them exhibited in December as well, are there, along with the tapestry?
Yeah, so with the main kind of points of focus in the exhibition, there'll be the tapestry. Then there'll be the work that I'm doing with the school, the kids from LEAP, and we've actually partnered with Hand and Lock, who do really, really beautiful embroidery. They work with like all the top designers, and they do all the like royal kind of embroidery. They're amazing. I went to their studio the other week, and it was just like, I was like a kid in the sweet shop. I was like, oh, it was great. So we're working with them. So the kids are going to do a workshop, and we're going to do lots of mark making, and we're going to create a piece of work that then Hand and Lock are going to embroider. And the idea is that through the project is we will create pieces of work and then draw a product out of it that can be sold, that will fund the project. So Hand and Lock are going to produce a badge that can go on the back of jackets or on a bag, or something, a piece of garment. So that's going to be one part. And then we've got the tapestry, and then I'm going to produce a film just explaining the project. But then the other side of it is going to be the visual art, which is the pieces that I've done, which is all about like embroidery that you've seen is tambar beading. And I learned that specifically for this project. That's probably why it's taken quite a while for me to get really confident with it. So the pieces you've seen is I embroider the front and the back of the silk, and I like to leave all the threads showing and show the inner workings of the embroidery, because it's a reflection of us. There's good and bad in all of us, but the messiness has also beauty in there, and that we have to embrace that. And if we all just want to be this bright, shiny, Instagram ready and not look at the darkness that we all have, then you're not going to actually you can't be fulfilled. You have to embrace the dark, messy side, and that's kind of reflected in my embroideries.
Yeah, because they're basically sculptures, aren't they? They're like little sculptures, that one particularly.
Yeah, I mean, that one is, I shoot it quite close when I think I get just as much enjoyment taking pictures of it, because I can get my frame and put it next to the window. It's got great light, so I can really get around it. But yeah, I'm working with the beads, so they come out quite 3D. But that piece has been mounted. I've created some frames. I've been working with a company in Hitchin who've really supported me. And they have made metal frames that the embroidery is stitched onto, and then it stands like 8 centimeters off the wall, which has a mirror. So it's all kind of integral. So with that particular idea is I want somebody to see the back of the embroidery, but you see that through the mirror. So you have to be quite with it. So you see the reflection. And another one that we're working with has got a light, so it'll shine through, and it's all about the shadow that's cast onto the wall is equal part of the work as the actual physical thing. And the one that you saw is called I Was Present for the First Time. It was from a conversation with a guy who is an incredible fella. It's called Josh O'Connelly. And I met him through a charity called NACOA, which I should mention. This is how, as soon as my dad died, my dad was an alcoholic, and I lived with him and my brother, as you know, but just for the people who are listening. My mum left when I was really young, and my granny and granddad lived with us, and then I lived with my dad and my brother on our own. And my dad was an amazing, beautiful, heart-loving man. He was full of love, but he was an alcoholic, and he never really admitted it, even to the day he died. But when he did die, I didn't seek any kind of support really when I was growing up, because it is about us against the world. I did feel very much like I can't speak openly about how I'm feeling because I don't want to betray his trust. I don't want anybody to take me out of the family environment, which they could possibly have done if I was really truly honest with, what was happening. Not that anything bad happened. He was never a violent man. He was just, his responsibility as a parent was shaded massively by his drinking. But we had, in the village, it was a great community, had a lot of support, kind of. But for me, emotionally, I didn't have any support, really. Maybe because I didn't ask for it as well. But as a teenager growing up, I was very much like, I can deal with this. And I almost built a bit of an armour around myself. So I never looked for any charities. But NACOA, which is the National Association of Children of Alcoholics, it's been going for 30 years. And they help up to 30,000 children and adult children of alcoholics, like every year, through a phone line and through online services. And so when my dad died, I just thought, and when I found him, I was like, oh my God, this is so horrific. Something good has to come from this awful mess. Not this mess at the moment, but the mess of the last 30 years. And so when I came back, I Googled children of alcoholics, I think, and NACOA came up, and they were so supportive. And I just said, look, I want to help. And me being who I am, I didn't want to just help through running a marathon, which I did do for them, but I wanted it to be a little bit more solid, and my creative head just kept kind of ticking away. So anyway, yeah, the reason I've been involved in the charity, and I've got to know a lot of people who are involved in the charity, and Josh is one of those people. And I interviewed him, and he's got his life story has been quite turbulent, and he's come through it amazingly so, and he is just like a figure of resilience, and he does workshops and spreads his knowledge to lots of like especially young men. But I'm rambling a little bit, but the actual picture is I was present for the first time because at one point he decided he was going to commit suicide, and he wasn't focused on the future, and he didn't care about the past, because for him none of that was relevant anymore. And he went to see his children, his young children, to say goodbye, not physically, but that was the last time he was going to see them. And because he was in that state of not caring anymore because he'd made a decision, he actually felt their touch and he felt their love. And he said in the conversation that at that point I was present for the first time. And it was so poignant, and it was such a strong emotional kind of explosion in that conversation, that's the part that I took to do a piece of work.
Well, I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I have to say, Sam, it's very, very brave of you to talk about your experience as well, because we have to be completely honest. We did grow up in the same village, which was wonderful. And I think that I know it must have been very difficult for you. And certainly from me looking in, I just thought you were this kick-ass fashion girl. And, we'd share a drive to college when we were like 19. And the next second you were, Central St. Martin's, the next second you had your, so you've done incredibly well. And I think that's something that you should be, I'm sure you're very proud of. And I hope that by doing this, it's helping you to kind of process everything, because it must have been so difficult, because I think the time when we were growing up, life was very different anyway. So we didn't really talk about our feelings, or, I'm getting life coaching at the moment. It's so exciting. Suddenly everything's clicking into place, kind of why I am who I am. And I think it's just, the world is very different. I mean, forget COVID, even without that in the mix, it's, the world has changed dramatically since when we were growing up. So I hope this is really helping you to kind of, channel all of your life experiences and your talent as well, your amazing talent into this project.
Yeah, thank you. No, it has. And it's taken me a while. I've always been creative and made things and had quite a drive. I mean, my driving force was I wanted to get out of Chesterfield and I wanted to get to London. And what's the best place? St. Martin's is. So I was like, that's what I want to do. And fashion, it was just very much I can make stuff, which is clothes. I've always kind of converting bits and bobs, and it was just the natural kind of progression, the natural kind of career, because textiles art at the time was so frosty, and the last thing, I think I've always been a bit of a rebel and a bit of a punk, and it was like textile art was a little bit kind of like felting
yes
by old ladies. I'm so not that. And so I went into fashion. And I have always had a drive, but there's always been like the demons there and the darkness there. And like I say, with every situation, there's always the light and the dark. So my dad's situation and us growing up in that environment, which, like I say, it made me very, very independent, and it made me very resilient. So, but at the same time, there was also a lot of shame that was attached to it, and not feeling good enough. So I've always had a very, it's really weird because I've had strong ambition, but at the same time, low self-esteem. So I'll push and push and push, but then I'll give myself such a hard time for not feeling good enough or ever feeling like I've ever achieved anything. So, with Darkest Star, we've been, which is my design label, we've dressed Bella and Gigi Hadid, and we've been in Vogue and V Magazine and done London Fashion Week, and we've done really well. But I never seem to feel like I've ever achieved anything, even though on the outside it probably looks like I have. And talking about life coaching, it was during COVID, I was lucky enough to have 5 sessions with an amazing life coach. And it was only then that he really gave me the tools to understand my own skills and to appreciate my own skills. And it was then that that's changed things for me. And that's it. Since then that Child Of has taken this energy, and I felt like I'm in the place where I'm meant to be, because I was always grasping. And I think a lot of it for me was I was looking for outside validation, because living in the environment that I did, and in the village, because it was a beautiful village, and there was very much like, it was quite affluent, wasn't it? You know, like parts of the village was very affluent, and I never felt good enough. And I always felt like I didn't fit in, even though I did. But I know there was that feeling of I needed validation. I needed to prove myself constantly, because of the shame that was attached, or that I felt was attached to my dad, and being, you know, we lost all our houses eventually. You know, they all got repossessed, and, you know, from having a lot on the surface to then losing it all, and losing face, and having the shame attached around by seeing your dad staggering down the road from one pub to the other, and, you know, kind of having to deal with that. I've always sought outside validation, and especially within the fashion industry. And it felt almost like I was working really hard, but I was never going to get to where I was going to wanted to be, because one, I didn't know where I wanted to be, and at the same time, it was never quite right. It was, the fit wasn't there. And when you read books and listen to podcasts, and people are always saying about when something moves and it has energy and it turns into something special, it's because it's authentic, because you're really focused, and because it's needed. And those are the three things that are really important. And in my fashion, I was just finding out who I was creatively. I mean, I was never commercially really successful, because I was designing pieces which I got a lot of press, but a lot of people were like, oh, I love your clothes, but I don't know when I could wear them. I can't afford them. I don't know how that would fit into my life. So I was never commercially successful, but creatively I was. And now I've found a place where I feel like, one, I'm not looking for outside validation. I really truly believe like that part of me has been, I don't know, dissolved. I feel like it's all about the project, because I'm in the right place. I'm where I'm meant to be. And I'm 47 this year. So anybody who's listening, who feels like, you know, oh God, I should be here at this time, I should be doing this at this time. I felt like that for the last 25 years. I felt like I should have made it at 26. I should have made it at 30. One, not knowing what making it is, what that means in reality and what it means to me. But two, understanding that it isn't a real thing. Do you know what I mean? When you do feel like you've made it, it's because you don't care about making it anymore.
Yeah. I know. It's so, yeah, well, that's exactly what they talk about in life coaching. It's not about what other people think about it. It's that you feel that you're exactly where you're meant to be. And you're using your skills in a way that, you know, tick your value boxes, so to speak. And I think it's great. And I also think, I mean, we should explain your fashion. It is very cool. It is very punk. It is like bolero jackets, kind of with whips and stuff like that. And well, they're not part of the thing, but that's how it was shown in the fashion pages, wasn't it? But
that was through our luxury bondage phase.
Oh, was
it? Bondage phase, and then we moved into more kind of edgy women's wear. But, yes, I mean, our darkest star story has been really good fun, and it's kind of through different kind of genres, always clothing, always a little bit kind of out there, but pushing boundaries. But there was whips. I didn't design them, but there was a luxury bondage phase. And I got to meet some amazing people, and that subculture as well is such an accepting culture.
Yeah.
I think meeting people who are accepting of who they are and who aren't afraid, and they don't have shame attached to their sexuality or what they want out of life, and they're very open with it, I think that's actually helped me in who I am today, because I realised that we are all different, but essentially we're all the same, and it's about embracing who we are. And every step of your journey is so valid in your development if you're willing to take the lessons that have been shown to you.
I think it's all about just continuing to grow, isn't it? And being curious and allowing yourself to move in different directions. And now I suppose with the fashion, your focus, well, it's not in fashion anymore, it's in textiles, but it's slow fashion, isn't it? So I suppose that's down to how long it takes to make, and the kind of the feeling of when you make it, and the length of time it's used for. So, for example, the tapestry will be taken to different exhibitions around the UK, hopefully for a long time. So it's that sense, isn't it? And the feeling as well. So the mental health kind of side of things. Would you say that's to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, so I am still with Darkest Star. I've got a couple of collaborations at the moment. I took a big step out of fashion. It was after London Fashion Week, actually, in 2018, I think it was. We did Fashion Week. We had the exhibition with the British Fashion Council. I produced a collection that I thought would be what the buyers wanted. I didn't get any sales whatsoever. But looking back, I lost myself, and I was so far away from my own creativity. It was almost unrecognizable of who I am actually deep down, because I was trying to fit a model that for me, I've never actually really fitted into. I'm the most unfashionable person because I'm into like my own style, and I'm not into the trends of fashion. I'm not into the cycles of fashion. I just make clothes, and I really enjoy making clothes. And so that's why it was never quite a fit for me. But I believe I've got clothes in my wardrobe that I've had for literally 30 years. I've bought a Jaeger jacket. I used to work for Jaeger as a pattern cutter years ago. And I bought clothes from them that are absolutely pristine and I wear today. You spend a little bit more money on them, but they last. And I think with slow fashion, it's all just about changing our mentality around consumerism. Like, buy stuff, it makes you feel good. Why? But you've got to think, why are you buying it? Do you need it? Is it good quality that it'll last you? And obviously looking at where it's been made and the products, the materials it's been made with. So I am still into making clothes, and I've got a couple of great collaborations that's coming up, in the next couple of months. But it's all just talking about how to utilize your wardrobe, how a piece can be worn many, many times over the years, converting. So I do a lot of like really high quality alterations on pieces. And I'm working with a lady called Kate Maguire from Converted Closet. And she just takes beautiful garments or like charity shop garments or, and she converts them into the most incredible pieces. And it's all about the process as well. So when I'm talking about fashion, I want to get people to actually, if you're buying a jacket for 45 quid, somebody along the lines has paid for that. You've got to think of the skills involved, the people who's made it, from the designing to the cutting to the manufacture to the housing of it. That of our sense of value in clothing has completely diminished. Whereas I want to actually start getting people to understand these skills involved in sewing and producing clothes. And so we just value it a little bit more. Because if we value the skills, then we'll value the garment, we'll look after it, we'll get a lot of pleasure from it. Perhaps we could even get people to do their own alterations and convert things. And then it's just a more kind of sustainable model rather than just bloody buying stuff because it's in fashion. Like, buy stuff that makes you feel good to your body shape and to who you are, not because somebody says it's fashionable.
Yeah, it's so important. And actually, I did use a sewing machine the other day to sew up the bottom of my jeans. It was a very exciting. They've now got pink thread around the bottom. But, you look at a denim jacket, say, and actually, could I make it? Yes, but it would take a lot longer. So the skill set that's involved in cutting it out, that's something that we've all forgotten. So It's really important. Sam, thank you so much. Let's just make sure that everyone has a full recap. So the crowdfunding page link will be below. So the exhibition is, tell us quickly again, recap.
Okay, so the exhibition starts on, I'm installing it on the 1st of December. So it'll be that first week in December at the Saatchi Gallery on King's Road. And it's running for a month. But we need to get submissions and contributions and donations into the crowdfunder before then, so we can start building the tapestry on your ideas and your thoughts and such like.
I think it's fantastic. I'm really excited for you. I'm so happy to touch base with you again. It's been such a long time, and I hope to see you in person very soon. Thank you so much, Sam, and everybody. The links will be in the comments below, and so I hope everyone gets involved. This is a fantastic project. And Sam, hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.